These 10 firearms didn't just get restricted, they became untouchable. And if you know where to look and you understand the law, some are still legal to own. One of these jumped from 4 digits to 5. After the registry closed, you'll see it before we hit the top 3. Before we count down, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now and smash the like. This is the kind of content you don't want to miss. Now let's count down the 10 banned guns that are now worth a fortune. Number 10. The Street Sweeper. In 1994, the ATF reclassified this South African 12-gauge as a destructive device. Hilton Walker's spring-wound revolving shotgun held 12 rounds and auto-advanced with every pull wind like a watch, emptying it like a fire hose. Before the reclassification, novelty shops sold them for $300 to $500. After, registered DD examples now trade between $3,000 and $5,000 if you can find an owner willing to part with one. It's imposing, and the capacity is undeniable, but it's also heavy at 9.5 pounds loaded. The spring mechanism loves to bind, and the trigger feels like pulling a parking brake. Collectors want the rarity. Shooters quickly remember why revolving shotguns never caught on. Depending on configuration and jurisdiction, registered examples remain lawful with the right paperwork. Just know that paperwork takes patience, and the gun itself takes upper body commitment. Number 9. Chinese Norinco AK-47s and SKS rifles. In 1993, an executive order cut Chinese firearms imports. Before that, you could walk into any shop and grab a Norinco SKS for under $100. A milled AK, maybe $200 to $300. They were crude, factory-stamped, communist workhorses, but they ran. Collectors report Mac-90 neutered pre-ban AKs selling for $1,200 to $1,800 today. The milled Type 56s, $2,500 and climbing if the finish hasn't been beaten off. Even beat-up SKS carbines that used to ship in spam cans now move for $600 to $900. The rifles themselves haven't improved worn bores, mismatched parts, and comm-block mystery metal. But the supply is frozen, and demand keeps ticking up. If your father bought a crate in '92 and forgot about it, congratulations. That's a down payment sitting in Cosmo line. Number 8. Pre-1986 transferable Mac-10 and Mac-11. Compact, cheap, and capable of dumping 1,200 rounds a minute. Gordon Ingram's open-bolt blowback design sold for $200 to $400 in the 70s and early 80s. Then, the Firearm Owners Protection Act closed the machine gun registry. No new transferable machine guns for civilians ever. Overnight, every registered Mac became finite. Today, a transferable Mac-10 in 45 or 9mm runs $8,000 to $12,000. The Mac-11, smaller and faster, sits around $7,000 to $10,000. These are stamped steel tube guns that originally cost less than a quality 1911. Now they trade for used car money. Legally transferable full auto with a $200 stamp and 6 to 12 months of ATF patience. The upside is pure, finite supply, guaranteed scarcity, and 15 to 20% annual appreciation. The downside is mechanical honesty, open bolt slop, 1,200 RPM recoil impulse, and accuracy that quits past arm's length. Collectors don't buy these for precision. They buy them because they can, and because every year there are fewer available. Number 7. Daewoo K2 and K1A1. In the late 80s and early 90s, South Korea's Daewoo Precision Industries exported civilian versions of their service rifles. The K2 in 5.56 NATO and the K1A1 carbine weren't AK clones or AR copies. They used a proprietary gas piston system with an AR-18 style rotating bolt. Original import price ran $450 to $600. You could find one at any decent shop. Then the '94 ban hit. Importation stopped. Supply dried up. Today, a pre-ban K2 in good shape trades between $2,000 and $2,800. A K1A1 carbine pushes $25 to $32. The build quality outclassed most ARS from that era, featuring mil-spec components, precision machining, and South Korean attention to detail. But the magazines are proprietary and expensive. Aftermarket parts barely exist, and it's heavier than comparable American platforms. Pre-ban models remain legal to own. New imports will never happen. If you've got one in the back of your safe, it's only getting more scarce. In another decade, collectors report these could hit 4,000 and beyond. Number 6. Original Intratec TEC-9. It was never subtle, and that's exactly why it became a target. The TEC-9 showed up in headlines and movies, then showed up on the ban list. Before that, you could walk out with one for a couple of $100s. Today, clean pre-ban examples trade hands for $1,200 to $1,800, more with the box. It looks fast and mean, and up close, it feels that way. Big magazine, easy to grasp, pure 90s attitude. But it also inherits the 90s problems. Blowback snap, front heavy balance, and the kind of finickiness that teaches you to clear malfunctions in your sleep. Collectors don't chase it for precision. They chase it because it's iconic and finite pre-ban threads, original shroud, factory mags. The culture made it infamous. The ban made it scarce. That's how a $250 curiosity turned into a 4-figure conversation piece. The post-ban AB-10 lost the threads, the shroud, the mystique. Pre-ban owners hold tight because they know what can't be replaced. If you think the TEC-9's price is wild, the Austrian bullpup coming up for sale for more than some used cars. And we haven't even touched the transferable machine guns yet. Stay with me. Number 5. Polytech legend. AK-47. Before the 1989 import ban, Chinese state-owned Polytech brought in some of the finest AK-47 rifles ever made for commercial sale. Milled receivers, not stamped. Underfolding stocks. Chrome-lined barrels. Old-school Soviet engineering, executed with modern precision. The Polytech legend was the top shelf. In 1988, you'd pay $400 to $600 for a milled AK, with fit and finish that rivaled Russian military arsenal pieces. Then the '89 assault weapon import ban killed Chinese imports. No more Polytechs, no more Norinkos. Done. Current documented auction results show $3,500 to $5,500, depending on condition. Mint, unfired specimens with original boxes push $65,000 to $8,000. Milled receivers at £1.50, but deliver bomb-proof durability. Appreciation has outperformed the S&P 500 by 500% over 30 years. The trade-off? Standard AK ergonomics, Chinese spec parts that don't interchange cleanly, and an entry price that scares off casual buyers. If you inherited one from a relative who bought it in the 80s, that's generational wealth in rifle form. Frame it, insure it, don't sell it. Number 4. Steyr AUG A1 pre-ban. The AUG made bullpups cool. Designed in Austria in the 70s, this 5.56 NATO platform was space-age, when AR-15s still looked like Vietnam leftovers. Integrated 1.5 times optic, polymer construction, ambidextrous controls. It was decades ahead. Steyr imported civilian AUGs starting in the late 80s. Price ran $1,200 to $1,500 expensive for the era, but you got Austrian engineering. The '94 assault weapons ban stopped imports of the original configuration. Post-ban models were neutered. No bayonet lug, no flash hider, thumbhole stocks instead of pistol grips. Auction results often show pre-ban A1 models between 4,500 and 6,500. Low round count examples hit 7,000 to 9,000. It's timeless, ultra-compact, and the integrated optic is part of firearms iconography. But the magazines run 40 to 60 each. The optic is non-removable, so upgrades are limited, and the bullpup trigger linkage punishes sloppy fundamentals. Spare parts come from Austria, only if they come at all. Modern AUGs exist, but they're not the same. The A1 is the original, and that carries weight. This is a $1,200 rifle now worth $6,000. That's 400% returns, and the curve isn't flattening. From here on, every entry is transferable history, and the premiums are brutal. We're talking registry-closed machine guns, finite supply, prices that rival luxury cars. Let's finish this. Number 3. Heckler Koch G36 semi-auto variants. The G36 is Germany's current service rifle. Adopted in the mid-90s to replace the G3, it's a 5.56 NATO gas piston rifle lighter, more ergonomic and more modular than anything that came before. For a brief window in the early 2000s, you could buy semi-auto civilian versions imported from Germany. The price at import ran from $1,200 to $1,800. Then Heckler & Koch stopped exporting semi-auto G36 to the US market. Politics, German government pressure, H&K's complicated relationship with civilian sales. Whatever the reason, they're done. Many documented examples now trade between $8,000 and $12,000 for the neutered SL8. True G36 configuration conversions done legally with imported parts push $12,000 to $18,000. Some owners converted SL8 rifles back to G36 specs using imported parts kits. Done correctly, that's legal. Done incorrectly, that's a felony. The holy grails are the ones with provenance and paperwork. German H&K quality borders on perfection. Ultra-lightweight polymer. Integrated dual optics. 3x magnifier plus a red dot. But the magazines cost $60+ each. Finding one for sale requires patience and connections, and verifying authenticity demands expertise. If a documented legal example appears and the numbers make sense, serious collectors move after legal consultation and insurance. This is a piece of modern firearms history that will never be reproduced for civilian sale. Number 2. Pre-1986 Transferable M16A1. This is the rifle that defined modern warfare. Adopted by the US military in the 60s, the M16 became the face of American firepower. Designed by Eugene Stoner, the M16A1 fires 5.56 NATO in full auto or semi-auto. Lightweight, accurate, modular. Before May 19th, 1986, you could register a transferable M16 lower receiver for civilian ownership. After that date, never again. There will never be another transferable M16 added to the civilian market. What exists today is all there will ever be. Documented auction results show $30,000 to $45,000 for a Vietnam-era M16A1 lower receiver. Not the whole rifle, just the lower receiver with the serial and auto-sear pocket. That's the price of a luxury car for a piece of aluminum that weighs 8 ounces. It's a legally transferable full auto with an NFA registration $200 tax stamp and 6 to 12 months of ATF processing. Appreciation runs 15 to 25% annually, outpacing most traditional investments. A finite supply guarantees scarcity, but the entry point is brutal, $30,000 minimum. Insurance alone costs hundreds a year. High-volume full auto wears parts faster, and most examples have 50-plus years of military and civilian use behind them. This isn't just a gun. It's a retirement account that shoots. People finance these like houses. Registry closed. Prices didn't. Number 1. Pre-1986 transferable Heckler Koch MP5. The MP5 isn't just a submachine gun. It's the submachine gun. From Tehran to Hollywood, this is the gold standard. Designed by Heckler Koch in the 60s, the MP5 fires from a closed bolt, making it one of the most accurate submachine guns ever built. Smooth, reliable, surgical. In the early 80s, before the 86 registry closure, you could buy a registered transferable MP5 for $2,500 to $4,000. Then May 19th, 1986, registry closed. No more transferable MP5s, ever. Documented auction results often show $50,000 to $75,000 and climbing. You are looking at a gun worth more than most people's annual salary. A stamped steel tube firing 9mm rounds costs $50,000 to $75,000. And these prices only trend upward. There are approximately 300 to 400 transferable MP5s in civilian hands in the entire United States. That's rarer than most classic Ferraris. Most legendary submachine gun ever made. German H&K build quality approaches perfection. Legally transferable, full auto, with NFA paperwork. Investment-grade appreciation at 20+% annually. Cultural icon status, movies, military history, and special operations lineage. But the entry is absurd. $50,000 to $75,000 minimum. NFA registration, a $200 tax stamp, and 6 to 12 months. Insurance costs are substantial. Finding one for sale is nearly impossible. Most have decades of hard use. If a documented legal example surfaces and the provenance checks out, serious collectors consult attorneys, arrange insurance, and move decisively. This is not a weekend range toy. This is a Picasso. This gun has outperformed gold, real estate, and the S&P 500 over 40 years. With only 300 to 400 in existence, supply will only tighten, demand will only grow. 10 guns the government tried to ban, restrict, or erase from civilian hands. Every single one became scarce. Every single one gained value. From street sweepers reclassified as destructive devices to MP5s worth more than luxury sedans, legislation creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value. These aren't just banned guns. They're fortunes. Investments that outperformed stocks, real estate, and precious metals. What sold for a few hundred in the 80s now trades for thousands, sometimes tens of thousands. The irony, the same legislation meant to restrict them made them more desirable, more collectible, more valuable. Registry closures froze supply, import bans cut off pipelines, and overnight, ordinary firearms became extraordinary assets. If you own one of these pre-ban, papered, documented, you're not just holding steel, you're holding history. You're holding wealth that only appreciates as time moves forward and supply shrinks further. Because here's the reality. They can write more laws, they can close more registries, but they can't create more of these. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own any of these banned treasures? Did I miss one that deserves to be on this list? Drop a comment below. Keep it legal, keep it respectful, and let's talk. If this breakdown added value to your day, hit that like button. Subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into the firearms that shaped history and built fortunes. And tap that bell because the next video might be about your collection. 10 guns banned. 10 guns that became fortunes. They can ban the sale. They can close the registry. But they can't kill the value. Some things only get more valuable when they're told they can't exist.